Yo, what's going down? It's your boy, the young boss hog, Natomas Slimm, and we are chopping up game with best-selling author, CNN contributor, father, just great dude overall, Bakari Sellers. Bakari, thank you so much for coming on. Sincerely appreciate it.
No, man, thank you for the invite. And I hope all of my friends on the West Coast are enjoying themselves, being safe and healthy. A special shout out to you, man. Thank you for having me for this discussion today.
No problem. Thank you so much for coming on. So, of course, I want to start off with your book, My Vanishing Country. I haven't finished reading it, but I have read it. And what stood out to me was your childhood home, Denmark.
Yeah.
And it's Denmark.
Yeah, it's a small town, man. I always tell people I'm from the big city of Denmark, South Carolina, where we have 3 stoplights and a blinking light. We grew up in a really poor community, but we didn't know it. We were rich with people, rich in spirit, rich in love, rich in community. When you talk about poverty and systemic racism, people are like, what does that mean? And I remind folk that I grew up where we didn't have a hospital because it closed down. We lived in a food desert where you couldn't go 2-3 miles and get fresh fruits and vegetables. Small businesses were being boarded up and shut down. Due to CAFTA and NAFTA in the early 90s, most of our manufacturing companies left. It was just it was a poor town, but again, we were rich in spirit, and that's my home. That's the rural South, and I was happy to be able to speak for the fact that I'm a product of the proverb, it takes a village to raise a child, and uplift all those voices in my village.
Yeah, what stood out to me about your description of Denmark, it reminded me of where my pops grew. My pops grew up in Arkansas, Osceola, Arkansas, and it's like similar, small town, like 2,400 people. Everybody knows your name. Everybody's like, oh, you know, with me, they're like, oh, you Stan's son. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like everybody knew who you are. But what really more stood out is you said that your downtown in your city ended up being just a deserted town. And NAFTA did that with my pops town, Osceola, Arkansas. It was Walmart. Walmart came in,
in Bentonville, Bentonville, Arkansas. That is Walmart. No, my town, not only was it CAFTA and NAFTA, they took away the manufacturing plants, but we've kind of turned our back on Black communities, on rural communities. And one of the things I wanted to do in this book was flip the notion on its head that when people say rural and working class, they mean white folk. When people say urban, they mean us. And I was like, wait a minute, as you know, with your pop's hometown, wait a minute, we know Black working class rural people. And so those are the people that I really tried to give a voice to. And there, you may be on the West Coast, you may be up north, you may be in Chicago or Detroit, but I guarantee you all your people came from the deep South, right? And so for me, it was kind of debunking some of those old myths, turning this theory of anti-intellectualism, because they think everybody from the South is like either married to their cousin or an idiot, right? So I was trying to throw all them things on their head and say that we can contribute to this discussion and dialogue and moving this country forward.
Yeah, and that's so. With that dialogue and discussion, I know you mentioned the black belt in the book as well, and that black belt it's very democratic. It's one of the things that got Biden his nod as the Democratic nominee. Mm-hmm. I remember I was listening to you on CNN, and you were saying something in the mix of all these older Black folks can't be wrong. You know what I mean? Like they've been through a whole lot. You know what I mean? Like we got to listen to them. If they're saying Biden's the one, then we should listen to him. Me being a younger Black dude, I was a Bernie bro. I can say that 100%. And a lot of younger Black folks were supporting Bernie. What do you think was the divide of older Black people going more towards the Biden, younger Black folks not really jumping on the Biden train as much as our parents and grandparents?
It was very, very generational. That's a really good question. And the major reason is trust. There was a relationship that was built between Joe Biden and the Black community. And that's a relationship that's non-existent or hasn't been existent with Bernie Sanders. There aren't many Black folk who I know in the South who knew Bernie Sanders prior to 2016 and him running for president. And that trust means something, though, because I don't want to be flippant when I say it. Especially in the South, Black folk, you don't have to just read about our history in a history book. Everybody knows an uncle or has an aunt that marched with King, that set in somewhere, that was arrested. You go to church with somebody who was beaten or participated in the movement. It's not something you have to read. This is something we can taste and touch and smell. And the unique thing about that struggle is it helps you identify that we worked extremely hard to achieve any semblance of success in this country, right? Any small amount, incremental success we've had, from the Voting Rights Act to the Civil Rights Act to the Fair Housing Act or whatever it may be. And we are not going to risk that progress with an unknown quantity. And so that trust is very, very valuable. And there were a lot of people who looked at Bernie and it was an absence of familiarity in the Black community. It was a what have you in 40 years of being mayor of Burlington, of being in the United States Congress, the United States Senate, what have you done for people of color? And while I was somebody, because I was I don't know what, I'm a part of the K-Hive. I think that's what it's called. I'm a Kamala fan, right? I love the senator from the great state of California. And, even I was critical of Biden's record, but I understood that there was, somewhat of an Obama halo that was given to Joe Biden, and people evaluated Joe in two fashions. They evaluated him pre-Obama and post-Obama. And I think that his 8 years serving with the president of the United States taught him a bunch of lessons about Black families, about Black men, et cetera. And I think he's going to be better forward as we go forward. And I'm gonna work as hard as I can to get him elected.
Well, that's good to hear on that one. Mike, just keeping with the, Black folks, the protest, it's going wild right now. I like it. I'm one of those people that I feel as if we're in a moment that is a generational moment, what we're seeing. And I don't want to really see this momentum that we're having getting squandered. What do you think are, action items that we could take, or what we could do to seize the moment that we're in and keep moving on it?
So that's a good question, man. So I'm like you. I think I'm a movement baby. My dad was in SNCC. My dad, was a part of the Orange Grove Massacre. He was shot February 8th, 1968. He marched with King. Stokely Carmichael was my dad's best friend, one of my heroes. My son is named Stokely after Stokely. So I appreciate what you appreciate, right? Being in the streets, raising our voices, actually speaking truth to power. But you actually asked the even better question, which is, how do we make sure that these protests, that our struggles for freedom result in tangible changes, right? Because what we realize is that, like, a few weeks ago, we thought we were getting police reform, and now that's completely died out, right? But what does police reform look like on the federal level? I mean, there's a lot of things that you should be pushing for. If your mayor doesn't have a plan for reforming and reimagining the police, then they don't need to be your mayor, right? And so what does police reform truly look like? And for me, from the federal level, it means having standardized use of force guidelines. So we know what officers are being trained no matter where they are. They can be in rural South Carolina, or they can be in the capital of California, right? That's first. What I view to be even more important than that is having a misconduct database, because right now you can get fired for beating on somebody and go a mile down the street and be chief of police because there's no database for misconduct. Number three, limiting qualified immunity is so important so that we can actually have some deterrence for police officers to prevent bad behavior. And number four is lowering the standard whereby we can charge law enforcement with federal civil rights crimes. These are just some small things. They're not really small, but some things that we should be asking for. We should be raising our voices for. And I want the protest to continue. People forget that the Montgomery bus boycott lasted over 365 days. So Al Sharpton said it best. We want you to get your knee off our neck, right? And so you've had your knee on our neck for 401 years. So we're not gonna stop just because it get a little hot, or just because the summer ending and we ain't got nothing better to do because we're in quarantine. We're gonna keep this pressure on for a minute.
Yeah, and I want that pressure on. And the crazy thing about me, what I think about this whole thing is that we're asking for like the bare minimum. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's the bare minimum. Yo, treat us equal. We could be still out there, protesting about the economic inequality, the educational inequalities, the discrimination within the workforces, the lower wages that, Black folks get, everything else. And we're saying, yo, just treat us equally within the law. Don't beat us. Just treat us equal. And there's so much more that we could pile up on that. And I feel like the pushback that we get just from being like stop beating us is crazy. It's insane.
Yeah, like ending racism shouldn't be a debate. All right. Like why are we debate why are we debating this? Like all I want to do is end racism. Why is this a debate? You know, people don't like the history of this country. Well, neither do we, but we're going to talk about it, right? We're going to understand it. And you're right. We're just asking for Black Lives Matter, not Black Lives are better than you. And it's wild, man. We're in a wild time, but I'm so appreciative of young people who are participating, not just your voice, but Generation Z that's coming up and everybody else's voice, you know, who are a part of the process now. And we got to follow through though, man, because November 3rd is a really big day. And all this action and all of this, you know, big chest and words and verbiage has to result in voting. As we lay John Lewis to rest, we have to remember that the ultimate way that we can even the playing field is through casting the ballot.
Which is 100% true. And speaking of casting the ballot, so, you know, obviously the options is between Biden and Trump. And, you know, if you don't vote for Biden, you ain't Black. I'm just joking.
There you go. There you go.
I mean, but I am joking, but then on a serious note too, you know, that comment kind of swayed a lot of Black people the wrong way. That made people think like, oh, you know, the Democratic Party, Biden, whomever they be, may think that we're in the bag just because, you know, we're Black and the other person is Trump. You know, to me, what can the Democratic Party do, Joe Biden, whomever, to really make sure that they know that, you know, they got Black folks' backs, that this is the
I think Puff and Charlemagne both did have some great validity in the points they were making, because we have to have an agenda for Black folk, right? Every other group gets to ask for an agenda. Evangelicals ask that, you know, the pro-life movement ask. I mean, why can't Black folk ask for an agenda that we can hold you accountable to? And Joe has one. I'm gonna push him to make it better, right? That's I can work to get him elected and push to make him a better candidate. I don't see why those things are mutually exclusive. I don't believe they are. Also think having a Black female VP is important, because I'm tired of Black women just being thanked. We need to put them in a position where they too can lead. So all of these things, I think, but to back up a little bit and answer your initial question, Joe Biden's comments were asinine. They were ignorant, period. But Donald Trump's a racist.
That's true.
And
that's true.
I'd rather somebody who makes just a flippant asinine comment over a stone cold racist any day, because I can work with Vice President Biden. We know that, and we know that he is going to be attempting to advance the interest of people of color in this country. Good luck with that, with Donald Trump. And so I am always somebody who will, maybe it's my youthful naivete, but I believe in the better angels of our nature.
Oh, no, I'm with you on that one. But I'm also, you know, one thing that I will always be for is we need some reparations somehow, some way, where there's cut the check or some business things, is educational, affirmative action.
And the first thing, so I mean, I'm with you. So the question would be, what do reparations look like? And you just rattled off a few things. So can't nobody answer that question for me, what it look like. But the first thing I want though is a GI Bill, like a GI Bill for Black folk. Like I think that our children should be able to go to school anywhere in this country for free. Should be able to go to college for free. I mean, I think that's where we start. I mean, we have things like baby bonds that Derek Hamilton and Cory Booker talk about. You're not going to go to the mailbox and get $100,000 check though. So let me just help you understand that there ain't going to happen, because I understand political realities. But I do think that there are policy initiatives and changes that we can push for that maybe one day we can see actually coming to fruition.
You mean I can't get the 100 racks? Come on.
You ain't getting that. You wait on it. Check your mailbox every day and prove me wrong. If you prove me wrong, then I'll send you some Makers 46 with a bow on it.
But no, I like what you I like what you're saying. There should be something, you know, a package that is for, you know, for us, man, for Black folks, because we have 401 years of nothing. And, you know, there's something for it. But Bakari, I know you're a busy man. Don't want to keep you on. Get your book. It is a excellent book.
As you hear my 4.5-pound Yorkie and my twins walking in the door, we got perfect timing, man. Next time, I promise you, I'll do it in studio, man. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you. Keep being a voice for the people, man.
Oh, no problem, man. Appreciate it, Bakari. You have a great one.
All right. Thank you, man.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, I love Black families. It's awesome.
All right. All
Yeah,
right,
Bakari, appreciate it, sir.
thank you.
Out of here, Chopping Up Game with Natomas Slimm. That was Bakari.
They ask me what it feel like. When they ask me what it